Greetings at Cheating Story Lab. Share your location and let me know where you're tuning in from. It is often said that truth brings freedom, but what they fail to mention is that sometimes the truth seems like a punishment before it becomes liberation. My name is Connor, and for 5 long years I was held captive within my own house, not by physical bars, but by threats. Not banished from the world, but silenced from expressing myself. My wife Victoria had mastered the art of psychological warfare, and I was her main victim. Our downfall began in a seemingly innocent manner, as most tragedies do. 3 years into our marriage, I stumbled upon something I was never meant to find. While searching for our insurance documents in Victoria's desk drawer, I came across a hidden burner phone concealed among the files. Upon touching it, the screen illuminated, revealing numerous text messages from an individual named Drew. These messages were not merely friendly. They suggested an intimacy beyond friendship. Over a year of intimacy, affection, and secret encounters, I painstakingly uncovered their betrayal as I scrolled through evidence photographs I wished had never existed, work meetings arranged discreetly, conversations about their future without me as a hindrance. When Victoria returned home that evening, I sat silently at the kitchen table with the incriminating phone before me. She asked calmly about its origin instead of showing panic, prompting me to respond. "Victoria, we need to discuss this," I said quietly. However, what followed was unexpected. Rather than crying, apologizing, or expressing remorse, Victoria sat opposite me and smiled. "Connor," she said serenely, "you have no idea what you've just stumbled upon." She then took the phone back from me. "This discussion is imaginary. You've never encountered this phone, and you've never seen those items." "Messages? Victoria, what are you implying? We're married, we should address this situation, or what?" she interrupted. "Or you'll leave me, file for divorce, tell your family how poorly I perform as a wife." I nodded slowly, puzzled by her certainty. "Let me describe the sequence of events if you carry out any of those actions," she continued. "First, I will inform everyone about your alleged gambling addiction." "I don't have a gambling problem." "The receipts in your wallet from the casino visits contradict that statement." "Did you believe I wasn't aware? The $3,000 lost last month, the $5,000 the month prior, I have pictures of every single receipt, Connor." A chill ran down my spine. Those trips to the casino weren't due to a gambling addiction. I had been taking clients there for business entertainment. The money I lost was company funds spent on client relations, entirely legitimate and approved by my firm. "You realize this is business-oriented amusement, Victoria, don't you? I'm implying that you're a compulsive gambler concealing substantial losses from your spouse and resorting to stealing from your own company to conceal your debts. However, those allegations are false, and you know it. The essence of truth is relative. What truly matters is what people believe, and I can manipulate that belief." She rose and headed towards our home office, returning with a manila folder. She spread the contents on the table: pictures, altered bank statements, emails, all meticulously arranged. "These are screenshots of your web browsing history revealing visits to gambling sites. Here are doctored bank statements showing transactions to offshore accounts. This is a fabricated email exchange between you and someone called Tony regarding settling gambling debts. And this," she displayed a small recording device, "is you mumbling in your sleep about embezzling from work." Gaze fell on the intricate setup she had assembled. "When did you manage to accomplish this?" "Over the course of 6 months. I have been preparing for this moment. You may attempt to leave me or cause trouble. View this as a form of insurance." "Victoria, this is irrational. You're extorting your own husband. I am safeguarding my assets," she countered. "You earn substantial income, Connor. We live comfortably. I will not allow your bruised pride to jeopardize that because you discovered my occasional indiscretions we both partake in. I'm enjoying myself. Drew offers me something you cannot, but I also require what you offer. So here's the arrangement. You forget about what you witnessed. You never mention Drew's name again. You never threaten divorce or try to leave me. And if I agree to these terms, none of this evidence will surface. But if I refuse, then I will bring you down. I will send all of this information to your employer, parents, siblings, everyone in your social circle. You'll expose your embezzlement, verbal abuse, and fear-inducing behavior to my employers, painting you as the victim. With this revelation, you'll lose your job, reputation, family respect, and could potentially face prison time for theft charges." I was speechless. The woman I thought I knew for 6 years, whom I loved, had become a stranger. "Why?" I asked quietly. "I can," she replied simply. "Because you're predictable, weak, and will do anything to protect your reputation. Because I've observed you for 6 years and understand what drives you." She was correct. The thought of my family thinking I'm a criminal, losing my career, and facing jail time terrified me more than enduring your betrayal. So, what next? I asked. 5 years ago, on a Tuesday in March, that was the arrangement. You'd resume your role as my husband, smile publicly, sustain our lifestyle, refrain from questioning my whereabouts or companions, and never threaten me again. Ever since then, I've been living as per instructed, attending work daily, returning home to a wife who barely acknowledges my presence unless we have social engagements. I observe her texting endlessly, see her disappear for late-night gatherings with unidentified girls, overhear her phone conversations in another room. The most distressing aspect wasn't the infidelity itself. It was the recurring demonstration of my own impotence. Daily, Victoria found subtle means to assert her dominance. She would comment on embezzlers who plunder their workplaces during crime shows, or advise caution at work because embezzlement charges can ruin a person's life permanently. She stored the fabricated proof within our home safe, occasionally reminding me to keep its existence in mind, often while appearing as if she were simply organizing household items. "Just updating your records," she'd remark carelessly, mimicking the act of sorting bills. My relatives observed alterations in my behavior. I grew more secluded, absent from family events, barely contributing during meals. When my brother inquired about my well-being, I'd feign a smile and claim marriage was simply an adaptation. My work performance declined as well. I was plagued by constant anxiety, always vigilant, fearing that Victoria's deception might manifest despite her not disclosing it. Yet people can endure apprehension for a limited duration before they shatter. For me, the point of fracture occurred on our 8th wedding anniversary. Victoria was away for another friend's night out, leaving me alone with a bottle of wine and our marriage album. Scrolling through pictures depicting joy and affection, I recognized I couldn't recall the last instance of her looking at me sincerely. Inebriated and melancholic, she arrived home at 3 a.m., laughing boisterously on the phone with someone. She no longer tried to conceal it. "That was Drew," she disclosed upon hanging up. "We're jetting off to Costa Rica next month. I've already made the reservation using our shared account." "Our shared account? Our funds, Connor. The income you've worked hard for to sustain our lifestyle, remember?" Her casual malice stirred a lucidity I hadn't experienced in years. I looked at this woman who'd been emotionally tormenting me and understood something profound. I was already living the life she was warning me about. I was already lonely, dismal, and imprisoned. Her threats were just keeping me voluntarily incarcerated in a life barely worth existing. The morning following Victoria's departure for her yoga session, which I now realized was her daily rendezvous with Drew, I undertook an action unperformed in the past 5 years. I retaliated. I navigated to an electronics store and procured a compact, superior quality voice recorder. If Victoria wished to engage in the evidence game, I would learn her terms. For the subsequent 2 months, I recorded everything. Wearing the device consistently, I documented Victoria's casual references to her affair, her threats regarding fabricated proof, and her meticulous descriptions of how she had manipulated me. I captured her phone conversations with Drew when she believed I couldn't hear, including their discussions about my perceived foolishness for believing her threats for such a long time. The most incriminating recording occurred on a Saturday afternoon when Victoria, along with her sister, Lauren, were intoxicated and unaware of my presence in the house. "Have you been deceiving Connor for 5 years?" Lauren asked, her voice expressing shock. "Not lying, protecting myself. I established safety nets. I created insurance policies. But Connor hasn't really gambled. He's never wagered more than $20. I invented everything: falsified documents, altered photos, and fabricated bank statements. It was surprisingly straightforward. Victoria is psychotic. She's strategically keeping Connor with her because he earns $200,000 a year and is too timid to leave her. Drew brings me joy, but he's financially struggling. This arrangement suits us perfectly. What if Connor discovers your deceit? He won't. He's too fearful and powerless. I could easily inform him. If everything I created turned out to be false tomorrow, he still wouldn't leave me because I've manipulated him into thinking this treatment is what he deserves. Our conversation was my moment of liberation. Hearing Victoria so blithely discuss her manipulation made me understand that I had 2 options: remain her victim forever or find the courage to reclaim my life. I spent a week preparing. I duplicated all the recordings and stored them in various places. Consulted with a divorce lawyer who verified that Victoria's fabricated evidence was flawed and that the recordings revealed attempts of blackmail and emotional abuse. Subsequently, I acted contrary to her expectations. On a Thursday evening, I sat Victoria at the same kitchen table where she initially threatened me 5 years ago. This time, I positioned my phone in the center, displaying the recording app prominently. "Victoria," I stated calmly, "I'm seeking a divorce." Her response mirrored what I anticipated: the malicious smile, the assured demeanor, the grab for her folder of falsified evidence. "Connor," she said, "we've discussed this before. Shall I remind you of the consequences if you attempt to leave me?" "No," I replied, "but I believe you require hearing about the repercussions if you attempt to hinder me." I initiated my phone's play function. In the room echoed Victoria's voice, revealing her meticulous planning of forging proof of gambling, embezzlement, and manipulation, describing years of deceit towards me, viewing me merely as a paycheck while engaging in an affair. A wave of paleness swept over Victoria upon hearing her own words labeling her actions as psychotic. She hesitated. "You recorded me?" I nodded. "For 2 months," I added. Each threat, cruel remark, every detail of your affair, every confession about falsifying evidence to extort me, all captured. She tried to salvage the situation. "They're illegal," I countered with a statement supported by my lawyer. "In our state, only one party needs consent for recording conversations. Since we both consented, they are completely legal." Victoria stared at me, her gaze reflecting bewilderment and recognition of a stranger. "Have you obtained a lawyer?" "I have hired an attorney, initiated divorce proceedings, established my own banking account, and prepared duplicates of your fraudulent evidence to present in court, exposing how you psychologically tormented me for 5 years. Connor, let's talk this over. I will sever ties with Drew. We can attend counseling." 5 years ago, that might have been a possibility, but you didn't merely cheat on me, Victoria. You terrorized me, made me fear my own shadow, took 5 years of my life from me, and led me to believe I deserved such mistreatment. I never claimed you deserved it. I played another recording. In the recording, Victoria's voice could be heard saying, "Connor is too weak to leave me because I've conditioned him to believe he deserves this treatment." She sat in silence, stunned by her own words that had incriminated her. "The divorce papers have already been filed," I added. "Your affair, your blackmail, your forged evidence, it's all on record. You can attempt to bring me down with your phony gambling narrative, but now everyone will know it's false." For 5 years, it became apparent that Victoria employed psychological manipulation and emotional abuse towards her husband, which led to their divorce. Victoria attempted various strategies, including tears, anger, bargaining, and threats to reveal secrets she didn't possess. But this time, the power dynamic shifted in our relationship. Despite attempts by her attorney to declare the recordings inadmissible, they were accepted as evidence of emotional abuse and extortion attempts. The court was especially troubled by Victoria's elaborate forgery of evidence and flippant admission of manipulation. Consequently, Victoria received minimal alimony due to her affair and abusive behavior. She was required to return the funds taken from our joint account for a trip to Costa Rica. Drew's relationship with Victoria disintegrated upon discovering the extent of her manipulative actions. He hadn't anticipated dating someone capable of such calculated heartlessness. The most fulfilling instant arrived at our last court hearing. Victoria's lawyer endeavored one final time to depict her as a victim of an abusive husband who covertly recorded her. The judge, gazing straight at Victoria, stated, "Ma'am, these recordings expose 5 years of systematic psychological mistreatment, extortion, and manipulation. The only individual in this courtroom who can be considered a victim is your husband, who displayed remarkable self-control in terminating this marriage legally instead of publicly revealing your actions. As I departed the courthouse that day, I encountered something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. Not merely from Victoria, but from the fear that had governed every aspect of my life. Upon reflection, I realized that Victoria was both correct and incorrect about me. She was right that I was weak for 5 years, as I let fear dictate my choices. However, she was wrong about my permanent damage. She underestimated human capacity for growth and the potency of reaching a breaking point. Currently, I'm remarried to a woman named Jennifer who values me as an equal companion, not as a financial resource or manipulation target. Our discussions are open about everything, with no secrets, threats, or deceit involved. At times, individuals question my lengthy silence and delayed resistance. My response is intricate. When someone progressively undermines your self-value and substitutes your confidence with apprehension, escape appears inaccessible. Victoria didn't only jeopardize my reputation, she made me believe I was as powerless and valueless as she portrayed. However, here is what I discovered. Those who care for you will acknowledge the truth when you express it. Those who matter will stand by your side when you exhibit courage. At times, the most impactful action one can take is to cease being a victim. Victoria spent 5 years inculcating in me that I was powerless. Ultimately, I demonstrated that knowledge is transient, and so is powerlessness. Threats that had restrained me in silence were eventually my proof of innocence. Farewell from Cheating Story Lab. Should this narrative strike a chord with you, kindly like and subscribe. And keep in mind, strength resides within you even when it seems elusive.